All right. Good morning, guys, and welcome to another session on how to hack. All right. So today, the scenario today is a completely different one. Like I mentioned, we'll be starting the web application penetration test, but for now, we're going to wrap up the network tests. We're going to look at briefly the Active Directory domain audit. So what we're doing today will be pretty much around auditing an AD or Active Directory domain that has been configured. We want to look out for bad configuration. We want to look out for misconfiguration. We want to look out for vulnerabilities around policies that have been implemented on the domain. Want to look out for rights and permissions, identities, and also poorly configured domain. So the scope for today will be in two phases. The first phase, we will be emulating an internal user who is authenticated to the domain. So today we're not going to be pretty much trying to hack to crack a password or maybe pass a hash or any of those such kind of attack. We're the good guys today. We've been contracted to conduct an internal test. So we've been given a box, we've been connected to the domain, and we've been given Windows 7. So this is what they gave us. It's a Windows 7 box, pretty old, right? But that's what we're working with today. This will be our attacker's box. Then we'll be auditing the domain. For now, there are about 2,000 plus users in the domain. That includes privileged users and normal users. There are groups, security groups, and other groups like log management group, or you have admin group, administration. Then you have maybe group policy managers. You've got some other managers. And for the domain, there are about three different tiers. There's tier 0, tier 1, and tier 2. So it's a three-tier architecture. And you've got different groups, different computers, and different users in these groups. So you find groups like AWS zones, you find GCP zones, you find Azure zones, you find some other zones. So you've got a bunch of users, and this is what you find in a standard enterprise environment. So I'm trying to show you if by privilege you happen to get around an enterprise and you have to run some tests. The first basic thing you want to do is, if it's an AD domain, you can play around to see how the domain has been configured without raising flags. So everything I'm doing here is benign, is not malicious, because I'm not actually running I'm not running anything that looks like an executable, except maybe for the second phase where we'll be using a tool called Pincastle to audit the AD domain. So we'll be running more of scripts today, and I've built a template around the scripts which we'll be using. So I believe you'll grab something from today. It might be pretty short, but be on the lookout. So we've got Windows 7, which is our box. I wouldn't say fully patched as Windows 7 anyways, it's outdated. But that's what they gave us. We've got Windows 10. This is fully patched. Then there's Windows 8 also in the domain. I wouldn't say fully patched also, because it's almost out of support. Then we've got Windows Server 2019. So the Windows Server 2019 is the domain controller. This is the server that manages the domain, the AD domain that has been created for the infrastructure. And there's just one domain in the forest. So it's more like everything is within this domain. So we're not having replication or anything of such. But it's been configured as a proper AD domain. Let me show you what I mean. So if I maybe look at the server manager, just for us to look around the server, so we can see that in the local servers, or maybe we see all servers. So right here we have this server. There's an AD, Active Directory Service. That's what it's called actually, ADDS. Then you have a DNS server. Then you have file storage servers. and you've got also the IIS server running the web application. So you've got all these 4 servers in this one server box, and this is typical of what you find in enterprise environment. Sometimes they completely isolate the AD server from any other server, but most times you pretty much cannot tell, because I can use IP routing to do a proper job. So still on this server, each of these servers will have a different IP address. That's very possible. So we're not going through all that nitty-gritties today. So now that we've seen the server, maybe we go a little bit lower level into the domain, so we can see, let's go to tools, then we can see right there in tools, you've got a bunch of tools. These are like submodules, so we could check maybe computer management, or maybe we could check this cleanup, we could check the sites and services that have been configured, domain and trusts, maybe directory administrative center, but for today we'll just go to users and computers. So let's go look at that. Let's see what we have in users and computers. I believe I clicked on it. Maybe it's taking a while to load. Oh, it's open. Okay, right, it's right there. Users and computers. So if you look at this is the tree. We see the domain is cptsecure.org. Okay, then below that domain, we've got the saved queries, but there's nothing there. Then still below that domain, we have between these 3, Active Directory tree. Windows Server, you look at that Windows Server 2019 cptsecure.org. So we've got this domain that has been configured. It's just this one. I could have multiple domains, which means if I collapse this, I could have other domains within this one server. So this server will be directorying all other domains, but for today we just got this one robust domain. So if I open it up, we'll see there are quite a bunch of stuff. We have the segframe.com. We can go into that. We can see some users, special cases. We've got admins. We can go into that. We can see in each of the tiers, we've got admins, tier 0, tier 1, tier 2. So if we go a bit lower, we can see the accounts, device permissions, roles, and services. Each of these, there are users and groups in each of these sub tiers. And that's the uniqueness in AD. So it's structured, which means an admin in tier 0 should be able to manage all the users in tier 0. An admin, if you go down here, you see the tiers again. An admin in tier 1 should be able to manage. Now the admin could be maybe for a particular group, or it could be for the entire groups in the tier, or it could be for services, or it could be for devices, or it could be for roles, or anything within that tier. And then we also got some built-in users here. So these ones, they're built in the server by default, but we've kept them in a blacklist. See, they're all security groups. Some of them are members, and they can do admin tasks basically at the local server level. Then we've got computers. So basically, for now, they're just these 3 computers, like I told you. There's the Windows 10, I believe, that's KETS. There's Windows 8, Amber, and there's Windows 7, and that's, I think this is Blazely, the Windows 7. I'm not sure in the order, but we can check later. Then we've got the domain controller. So all these users, I believe they have access to the domain controllers based on their configuration, and also this computer does GC group controller. Then we have the foreign security principal. For now, there's nothing there. Then the group users. So these are group users. Then manage service accounts. For now, there's nothing pretty much in there. People. You've got quite a bunch of people in there with objects as properly being called. Then we have the quarantine section where we see we've placed some users and some computers that have been tagged for quarantine, which means we're doing isolation in AD. Probably we've seen some malicious behavior from them, so we choose to keep them in a quarantine group where we can keep track basically based on identifiers on whatever they're doing. Okay. So if you look here, you see we're following, trying to keep track on some of them. Then we've got stage. So in stage also we've got the AWS organization, is Azure organization. We've got quite a bunch of organizations. Look at all that. Then we've got some users also within the stage. Then also some testing. This could be maybe dev team. We've got some users or testing teams. We've got a computer there as well, but most of them are not been they've not been activated actually. So we'll be auditing the configurations today. Then within the tiers, you can see we've got all that structure again. Each of these are organizations, and they've got devices, groups, services, as well as users. Then also the tier 2, then as well as the other generic users. Great. So that's just a quick wrap run around what has been configured in the AD. You can see it's a lot. It's not something that is pretty much. This is not a small-sized organization. I can tell you that this is maybe a medium to large, because you have close to 3,000 users. That's what you find in a typical standard enterprise environment. Maybe the headquarters branch or so. You can find this number of users. I'm only specific about the headquarters. I'm not looking at the other branches. So take for instance here in Mozambique, one or two of the companies that I've been in and then looked around, I could see that in their AD configuration, some of them even have just 1,000, some of them have maybe 1,500 or even less. So you can see we've pretty much built our AD to emulate a standard structured reality. So enough with this blabbing. All right, so let's go to the task. So we'll go to Windows 7. It's locked. Let's try to, this is what they gave us, and it's been connected to the domain. So let's try to see where Kets. Okay, I made a mistake, where Kets. So let's try to log in with Kets. Oh, if we remember Kets password. Okay, so we do. All right, great. So we are in Kets. And then this is, funny enough, we're not using any Kali today, or we're not using any Linux today, because we're trying to stay off Linux and do some Windows stuff. So pretty much there was an environment, I was in an environment, and they were quite strict about not allowing Kali Linux to run on that environment. And I was like, but why? They say, no, we don't want it. So I had to build a Windows computer to use for what I needed to do. So in turn, what I'm trying to say is you can as well build a Windows computer, equip it with the tools and scripts that you want to do. So I've installed Python, I've installed a bunch of other utilities, and I've also set up some scripts here. So if I go in this folder, you see I've got Purple Sharp, that's what I'll be running. I've created a playbook. If I maybe open up the playbook just to show you, I'm emulating a real world scenario. So these are actually the MIDA framework, which I'm actually using to map my tactics. So you can see T stands for tactics, or some people say techniques. So if I open maybe each of these playbook, they are JSON files. I should have a JSON open, something I can use to open a JSON file. I'm not sure why it's not there, but let me go pretty much back. I think it's there. If I don't have it, then I'll have to go look for it. I'll go a step back, step back. Other stuff. Oh, okay, that's not good. So I need to grab something I can use to open a JSON file, and I'm not seeing that here. Let me go look in my shared folder on the network. Maybe this is shared locally. Let me see if there's anything in here. No, it's the same thing here, so it's not been shared. I thought because it was on the local admin, I thought I had shared it, and I cannot find it. So, but that's fine. Not bad. We cannot open the playbook today, so maybe we will not be running. Like I said, we won't use binaries. Probably that's why it's not there. So get out of that network. So you can see I have other shares that I can access, but for now, we don't need any of those stuff. So let's just go pretty much back. And so we're not running Purple Sharp today. Sorry. What we're doing today, we are actually going to use this tool called Pincastle. and we're also going to do some AD stuff. So let me open my workflow. So you see I've got quite a bunch of sweet stuff happening here. We'll be doing some low-level stuff to audit the domain, like I said, and these are not stuff that I'm not running an executable law. And by default, any user in the AD domain can actually do what I'm doing. So it's not a malicious behavior like some will say. No, it's benign. Great. So let's go get right into this. I believe there will be another session. Maybe then I can run because I thought I could show you guys how to use Playbooks. But I don't have something I can use to open this playbook. And this system is not connected to the internet. No, it's just within the domain. So it's local configuration. So, but I will stage another session where I can show you guys how to use Playbook. For those who are part of maybe red team or blue team in an organization. Red team, usually what we do, we use Playbooks. We don't just go in and start trying to hack everything. No, we emulate. So if I go back to my Playbook and show you stuff. See, there's a credential access play directory, there's a discovery directory, there's a lateral movement directory. So if I maybe go in here, these are playbooks. Actually, I don't have anything to open this here. So if I wish I could open one of them just to show you, you will see they're actually written with a low level C, and they can run clearly in the Windows environment. Because some of them are .NET, I think 3.5, 4.0, they can run without any flag, so they're called benign. They won't raise an alarm because I'm not doing anything malicious. I'm not executing it's only going to flag maybe there's an endpoint detection that is doing some heuristics, behavioral analytics, and looking for certain strings in whatever I'm executing. So, but great. Enough with that talk. Let's get out of this. So for today, we'll work with this. We'll do maybe some basic WMI, see if we can dump all the AD users, see if we can dump all the accounts without password expiration. Then maybe see if we can do some LDAP recon stuff. Then maybe see if we can go ahead to do some LDAP query filters, finding maybe accounts that've got specific flags like administrator, then maybe filter for maybe IT, then maybe filter. We'll just play around. You can see the script has been built to reflect the domain we're in. So if I'm sharing this with you and you want to try that in your environment, you have to change a bit of the domain. Like the domain, let me see, like this one doesn't really need the domain, just some partial stuff. But if I go to maybe this one, you see there's a domain there. It has to be specified for the script to work. So great. All right, so let's fire up PowerShell. We'll be working with PowerShell. Let's see if it's here. Okay, so we'll be working with the ISE, not the EXE. Oh wow, this is bad. Sorry guys. I'm gonna try that again. Okay, so the EXE works, but what I want is the ISE, so it's gonna look pretty much organized. And I don't have access to the internet. Maybe that's why this is crashing. Let's see. Of PS the text. G PowerShell internal G PowerShell main. I think I need to run an update to fix this problem. Okay, so guess we'll just work with the normal PowerShell, which we know. So I'm going to start that up. It's Great. Okay, so this is what we have, and let's run the first command. Oh, sorry. Let's go to my PowerShell. So we'll do some who am I. So we're cat, we belong to the CPC secure domain. Great. Let's do that again and put this slash all. I'm sorry if the screen is very small. I could not play around with the resolution of Windows 7 to make it much bigger. This is the best I can get. So maybe I should minimize these other ones so we don't see an overlap, kind of like in the background. Okay, so this is the best I can get for now. So you see, let me drag it all the way to the left. Okay, that's the biggest we can go. So if we go all the way to the top, let's look around what we've been able to dump and see. So we can see we're cats, we belong to the domain CPT secure. This is a secure identification number, SID, and good. Then going down to see what groups we belong to or something. We belong to everyone. We belong to built-in users. These are local groups. Logon, entity authority, authenticated user. These are at the local level, not at the domain level. And then at the domain level, this is where we can start seeing from the domain level. So we can see we belong to this group. We could go check that out. We belong to this group. We belong to this. And then these are the groups and the SIDs. And then we could also see maybe one or two more things that are of importance there. And we do not belong to an admin group, obviously, so because we don't have any admin group, that are just basic groups. Okay, so great. Now we can see the privileges that we have access to in terms of names. So we can set shutdown privilege. We can do that actually. So we can shut down the system. We can change not if privilege. So which means there's already one misconfiguration. We can bypass transverse checking. That's something that can be fixed within the group policy objects in AD. Let me show you what group policy is. So if I can go back and minimize this is pretty much going to be fun. I didn't anticipate it to be this way, but let's see. So group policy management, or we can create a group policy object. So you can see in this group policy management, we have all that tiers in there, as you can see also in the AD groups and users. So which means within this group policy, I could administer all the whatever 3,000 or 10,000 users in that AD. So I mean, I could determine what they can do and what they cannot do once they authenticate on the Windows box. I could configure where they can go to, even down to the browser level, even down to running anything on that box. I don't want them to run a script, and this is where most enterprise admin fail. They don't seem to understand the power that is in Windows when you go to the group policy object. So they overlook this, they bring in a bunch of other tools, and they're hoping that will solve the problem, but still, because at this fine-grained level, they've not done a good job. They miss out on most of the things. So with group policy, I could set restriction in this domain. I could set restriction for any authenticated user within that domain, what they can do and what they cannot do. That's the good part about it. So you can see all that, but we're not touching group policy today. Maybe we'll do a video for group policy. That would be cool anyways. So I'm going to minimize this back. So I can see one misconfiguration and unlock privilege. So I could also set maybe set unlock privilege, maybe remove the computer from a docking station if it's a docking station, but this is disabled. This one is enabled. So I could see time zone privilege, anyways, that disabled. So that's what we can see first in our first enumeration. So I'm going to clear the screen. Then let's go to our script. Now let's go grab some things and come see. We've done the WMI all. We've seen login users. We've seen all that stuff. Let's maybe dump all the AD users. That might be pretty much because, like I told you, that domain has got a bunch of users. But let's copy this command and let's go dump it in a PowerShell and see if that's going to give us some smiles. So it's taking quite a while because the domain is robust, trust me. So, but let's wait for it. Wait for it. Ah, there you go. It's spitting out stuff at you. It's showing up. Okay, it's a bunch of stuff. Trust me, it's a bunch of stuffs. But the good side about this is I could execute that command and direct it out to a file. So I'll be writing it into a file. Maybe we're going to do that and see. It's pretty much easier for us to go look at the file later because this is going to grind you. Trust me. And I'm on Windows 7, so it's pretty much not a good thing to do here, but let's wait for it anyways. Like I told you, it's a lot of users. And also a quick caveat: at enterprise level, for today's enterprise level, you want to isolate boxes that are running on Windows 7, Windows 8, because they're already obsolete. They're out of provisioning, which means you don't have any supports for them anymore. More like releasing patches, fixes, bugs, and all this stuff. No, so you want to completely isolate them and keep them in an isolated network or on an isolated network where you can easily monitor what they're doing. Great. This is a lot. I don't want to stop it. We just have to wait for it. I'm sorry, guys. I know I could probably have passed it. Okay, let me just stop it because that's going to keep doing that thing. It's a lot of users. So if I can go all the way to the top, if the buffer allows me to do that, and if it doesn't crash, don't have a heap. So that's the highest I can go. So which means we can see some, but we'll just look at the ones we can see just to show you. So this is really fun. So we can see the user. We can see the user status. This one is a disabled force. It's not. He's not disabled. The domain is CPT secure. The full name. We can see local account. No, this is a domain account. We can see the name. We can see password changeable. True. Password expires. True. Okay, so good configuration on the password. It can expire at least. We can see around. I'm sorry guys, I need to pause this video. Oh no, I can't pause the video, so just stay on the line. I need to pretty much get in someone into my compound and okay, I'm going to stop the video for now, then I will do a second part of it to continue. Thanks guys, this is fun.